In any market, in any circumstance, when things are bad, when things are volatile, there are the people that are going to suffer as a result of the volatile market, and there's going to be people that succeed as a result of it. And what you have to do is you just have to pay attention. TCPA laws are changing January 27th, right? There's an opportunity here for you guys to learn what the laws are and to pay attention to it, and not everybody's going to. So when things get hard, people give up. And the people that are successful, they figure out a way to get on top of it, to learn and to grow. And that's one of the reasons why you guys are on this call today. My name is Barry Jenkins, and I run a teamerage in Virginia Beach. Got 80 agents that work for me, and I wrote a best-selling book on lead conversion. So every Friday, the Mescula team has asked me to spend a little bit of time helping you guys move the needle with your specific leads. So this is where you're going to bring up scenarios on an individual lead basis, or maybe all of them. And I'm going to help coach you through how to increase your conversion. So when you guys look back over the last couple weeks and you look at your leads, have you guys had any wins or any losses, any failures, any success stories? Who wants to go first?
Well, just so you know.
Thank you.
Yes. Hold on, Sheldon. I think you're unmuted, buddy. There you go. All right, go ahead, Hugh.
Okay, so I'm new. Hanson and I are new to the group, and our leads won't begin until the end of the month.
Okay.
But we've been in business for 25, going on 30 years.
Okay. So you've seen a thing or two.
Yeah, or more. Yeah, but I'm just here to hear what obstacles you may be looking at or we could expect.
Sure. So when you look at your, when you look at the last maybe 12 to 24 months, have you guys had any success with online leads for sellers, or is this a new adventure for you?
Well, we were signed up with a company called Lead Hackers. We work in dual capacity. We own a mortgage company and we're also realtors.
Okay.
So the leads that came in were pretty much mixed from Lead Hackers, and I've process a number of the leads myself. In fact, I'm looking at showing properties next week with 2 of the prospects now. But in respect to the numbers, that's extreme. That's under 1% of what's been submitted to us.
Gotcha.
So my concerns are basically how hot or cold are these leads?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a nutshell, that is.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the industry average for leads from Google and Facebook, and this isn't a Mescula leads thing, this is just generally anything from Google and Facebook. Normally, you're going to see around a 1% conversion. So on my team, we hover around 1.8%. So we're a little bit above average, but the ROI hovers between 300 and 400% return on investment. So, the revenue's there. But I think when you're dealing with, if your lead hacker leads, I assume, were they buyer leads mostly?
No, they were a mixture of both.
Oh, mixture of both. Okay, great. Yeah.
So I understand that from what you're offering us is more or less prospects are looking to list their properties opposed to sell their property.
Yeah.
Well, that is the same thing. I'm sorry. List their properties opposed to people looking to purchase property.
Gotcha.
Right. Is that correct or not?
Well, I don't actually work for Mescula. I'm here to coach on converting the leads. So as far as questions about the specific product itself, we can have the team at Mescula go over the details and some of those nuances with you on a separate call. My role is just to help you convert the leads. That's the purpose of this session, right? Okay. And as the group will tell you, most of the leads are, they're interested in their home value, right? They're interested in knowing what the value is. And your job is to go beyond just sending them numbers. That's really...
Well, it's been our experience in doing those type of evaluations. We're looking at comps. We're doing walkthroughs. The evaluation from our perspective would be looking at the condition of the properties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Among, the comps and everything else, and then putting the package together so they'll know. what they're looking at and what the market will stand as far as pricing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when you're talking to the prospect, one of the things that you're going to want to do is relay that to them because, of course, they're going to want just a number. All right. And so then there's that moment where they're like, well, can't you send me a number? And you say, well, I really
I can.
I really need to evaluate the condition of the home. And so, it really depends. Some people will give in. They'll say, sure, you can come over, right? And look at the home. And then for the ones that don't, what I recommend you do is to give them a range. Say, well, if I don't know the condition of the home, we can give you kind of a range to work off of, but it's really not going to be that good. What we found, and people, there are several on the call that have had success with this, is emphasizing if they're at all considering selling in the next year, doing a walkthrough of the home to make sure they don't waste money on repairs. That approach is still getting my agents into more homes for middle to top of funnel sellers than anything else.
Phrase it that way?
Yeah, we say,
listen, want to do the walkthrough so you don't waste money on repairs?
Yes. Yeah. It really does capture the heart of the top of funnel seller. Because they trust Zillow more than they should, and the valuation that Zillow provides, the value of us doing a really detailed CMA has diminished over the last 5 years. So we have a question. Let's move to the question. All right. So I have an objection I had twice recently, both for 3 million plus. I don't want to list for privacy reasons, but I'm very motivated. Find me a buyer off market. Yeah, Stephanie, for an exclusive seller that's, in my market, 3 million would be luxury. One of the things that I would do is I would still see about, is there a way for you to, let me ask you this, Stephanie, do you know in your market, are you allowed to get a listing agreement signed and not put it in the MLS? Are you aware if you're allowed to do that?
I think I am. I'm definitely allowed to sign something that would be exclusive to me. That's a good idea. I didn't think of that off the cuff when I was there with this one seller. I definitely know that there's some type of off-market agreement that I could sign, but I know I wouldn't be able to put it on the MLS, which is obviously, like the most attractive part about the listing.
Of course. So, and one of the things that I would do is, all these leads that we've been generating over the years, hopefully you have them in a CRM. And what CRM do you use right now, Stephanie? Do you use the one that you're provided?
So I put separate. So I have for my Mascula leads, I have them all in the Mascula. And then I have I check them there. For my personal referrals, I have a different one that I use from my broker. So I keep them all kind of organized that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the one from your broker, is it like KV Core or Lofty?
Yes, KV Core.
Okay. So there's a way to search in KV Core with your database for buyer activity based on the homes that they've looked at. And so one of the things that you can do when you're talking to someone that says, bring me a buyer, I want off market, I want to sell my home off market. That's the value of your database, and so if you're not sending listings to the people in KV Core right now, you should start. That should be a project because you want IDX behavior. You want them searching for homes on your website so that you can take that activity. You can go to a seller, whether it's off market or not, and say, hey, I have 4 people in my database searching right now. That's a very valuable and compelling offer to a homeowner. We have been using that approach for 5 years now to win listings because most agents walk into the listing appointment and say, hey, I have buyers looking, list with me. What we do is we actually show the homeowner the buyers looking. Now, we don't give them the name and number because then they might call the buyer on their own, but we put it on a map and we show the homeowner, here are the buyers that we have in our database looking. That is a very compelling offer for someone that is, looking to sell off market. Now, if I had a seller that said, I don't want to list for privacy reasons, did you ask at all? Did you do any discovery around like what's motivating the privacy? Like, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So with one of them, I wanted to actually tell you, one of them, the lady, she said the people in the building are very nosy and she just doesn't want anybody in the building to know that she's selling. This is why she doesn't want it on market. And she's a realtor in another state. And she was so kind to even give me like the pictures. So and actually had two buyer matches and I was doing what you were just suggesting. So, but like, they didn't bite for that particular one. So now I'm kind of like stuck with her. I want to follow up with her again.
Yeah.
The other one, he just, the wife didn't even want any pictures taken, but he said you can bring them by any time if you have a buyer.
Gotcha.
So that's obviously, like not easy. And he was very unrealistic about price on top of that.
Sure. Yeah, the other thing I would say when I'm talking to somebody that values privacy would be at some point, if you sell the home off market, you are going to be limited to the number of people that are going to be able to see the home. So when we talk about an off-market sale, how concerned are you with regards to trying to get more for your home? How motivated are you to sell your home for more or less? Do you care what the sales price is? Now, I know 9 out of 10 people are going to say, no, I as much as I can, right? And that you hope you get some kind of response in that regard. And that's when you bring back up and say, look, I can understand privacy. One of the things that I've done, and you want to use a phrase like this, for my other clients that value privacy, was we did still put the home in the MLS, but I made sure I was at every showing so that, it prevented your home from being looked at unnecessarily. We don't put it on any type of lockbox or anything like that. I have to give them access. We them guessing. So we only have a picture of the front of the home so that your nosy neighbors don't get to see the inside of the home. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to see, can I meet them in the middle? Because look, your clients are telling you something and, you need to be able to have the wherewithal to say, okay, fine. Do you really not want anybody to see it? If so, you're not going to sell it for as much. Are you sure that's what you want? Most people are going to care about the sales price. And that's the door into getting the home in the MLS. But you have to do this. You can't do this in a casual way. You can't say, well, what do you think about the MLS? Did I lose you? Oh, no. Okay.
No, I'm here. I'm listening. It's very helpful.
Yeah. No, my Chrome just all of a sudden popped in front of my Zoom. So I thought my internet just went. And so you can't be suggestive with something like this. You actually have to take on more of an authoritative role and use phrases like, well, do you care what the sales price is? And if they say yes, that's when you need to start telling them from a place of well, the more eyeballs on your property, the more you're going to sell it for. So let's talk about how my other clients like you. So now like, oh, okay, Stephanie does this. My other clients, what we did to mitigate exposure to their home as far as nosy people and still got as many people looking, what we did was we put the front photo of the property. I'm sure I was at every showing. We did not put a lockbox on the property, and we require proof of funds before they're allowed to look at the property, right? Now, I don't know what the average sales price in your market is, but if it's not a luxury listing, you're not going to do all that. But if it is a luxury listing, you are going to do all those things. And so what you're doing is you're saying, I'm not going to do what you're saying you want, because that's not going to give you what you're saying you want is off market, but that's not going to give you the sales price that you need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the sales price and teach you how I'm able to help keep privacy without shooting you in the foot, because that's what you're saying you want. Clients have done this my entire 25-year career. They tell me they want one thing, and then they do something completely different. And all it took was the right agent. I mean, how many times have our clients told us something like they got to have a garage, and then they go look at an open house and the house doesn't have a garage, but they fell in love with it, right? That's happened to all of us. And it's because, that was one of the first things, although this is not a buyer, buyers are liars. It's because they don't know what they want. So you just have to have the conviction in what you say and how you say it to start giving them the direction they need. And the spirit of this, when you're saying it, I want your demeanor to come across as someone that is, it's almost like you have an excited secret. So I don't want you to have like a vibe of like you're disagreeing with them or you're giving them bad news. What it is like, oh, okay. So if you really care about the sales price, let me tell you what I did with my other clients and they loved it. And we still were able to preserve your privacy, right? You kind of are excited. You figured out what to say to them. That type of energy is what's going to win over a luxury client. You can't be intimidated by these people. They to be treated normal. I don't care how wealthy they are. Well, I guess at some point, they become the elite. But generally speaking, most people in luxury homes want an agent that is not intimidated by them. They want an agent that's going to give them concise and clear direction to get them what they really want. So they say they want privacy, but I bet at least one of the two that you talk to, when you start talking about them making more money, one of them is at least going to listen to you. And I get it. In some of those communities, the neighbors are so just atrocious. And it really doesn't come down to the outside of the home because the neighbors can walk by the building, right? It's all about the inside. It's all about them, mocking her furniture or her choice of plants or the wallpaper. If all of that is removed, she doesn't have that same pressure about her neighbors being nosy. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. That was really helpful.
Good. Zach, how you doing, buddy? Are you in the Malibu area or
close? Yeah, we were on watch yesterday for evacuations. My girlfriend and her family had to evacuate. I don't have power at my house, so I'm over at my girlfriend's family's house. Yeah. So I just kind of got set up, but everything's okay. Thank God. Family, friends are good, but I know a lot of people that are not good. Yeah. So I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear that you at least your circle is doing okay.
Yeah, it's going to have a big impact on the real estate market here. Overall, people needing to rent, that's going to shift things. I'm always curious how natural disasters like this affect the real estate market and how long the time frames are on it. I've had 4 new registrations just yesterday alone on Muscula for people wanting to know the value of their homes. And I have 2 appointments later today for phone calls. I'm very curious how it's going to impact, home values and things like that. But they're local. I'm not, selling in the Pacific Palisades where the big fire was, but people are probably very curious.
Yeah. You're going to have a lot of people that are like, I don't want to live here anymore. Right. They're scared. Yeah. I was just there Wednesday. I was scared and I don't even live there. The other thing I would say is I would probably focus your time on the communities outside of the people registering on your site for home values near the affected areas in the LA fires. I would focus any extra marketing that you're doing on the markets that are normal still, that aren't as impacted. Rent stuff is going to change, to your point. But you want to try to focus on the part of the market that's the most normalized. My understanding is Santa Monica, they've been able to hold the fire at bay. So that could be, that could be a really good market for you.
Yeah, good point. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In any market, in any circumstance, when things are bad, when things are volatile, okay, there are the people that are going to suffer as a result of the volatile market, and there's going to be people that succeed as a result of it, right? And what you have to do is you just have to pay attention. TCPA laws are changing January 27th, right? There's an opportunity here for you guys to learn what the laws are and to pay attention to it, and not going to. So when things get hard, people give up. And the people are successful. They figure out a way to get on top of it, to learn and to grow. And that's one of the reasons why you guys are on this call today. So yeah, you want to just stay diligent, stay focused. Those of you that have been prospecting your Mescula leads, any other objections that you've had similar to Stephanie's that I can give you some direction on? That's a great example of why you're here. It's kind of like we're on a sales meeting, and I'm saying, hey, who's got a good lead, or who's had a conversation recently? I want to help you move the needle, or who's met with a seller, you can't get them to list the home. Melissa, I know you had some objections recently with some of the leads. How has that been going for you? Have you had any success recently? No? So let's talk about that. I want you to unmute for a second. But I know you don't want to, but that's fine. Do you say that the leads are answering and not interested mostly, or they're not answering at all?
Both. 2/3 of it won't communicate at all. They just like, I'll see like a notification that says like help with the lead or something like that. Like it says give it a few minutes and then that way it could talk to them. Like even before I get there, they're like, never mind, don't want it. Take me off your list, cancel. Like as soon as the email, I think that is out by Ashley, that says, hey, would you have time for a appointment, like a phone appointment? They're like, nope, don't want it. So I've seen that a whole lot. And then I think, okay, well, I'm going to try and call them anyway. And then they don't answer, goes to voicemail, that kind of thing.
Okay.
That's a bunch of them. I'd say 2/3 of them just won't answer their phone, nothing. And then I sent Christmas cards to a whole bunch that did not answer their phone. And one of the ladies actually came back, and I'm supposed to talk to her again soon.
So not unusual that when you're generating leads from Google and Facebook, the majority don't answer. So that's just unusual. Okay. Let's talk about the ones that do for a moment. So thank you for that. That helps me. The ones that are answering, I imagine most of them just say something like, I just wanted my home value. Can you just send it? Something like that.
Yeah, there's some that just say, I want my home value, but I'm not ready. I mean, it just seems like every person I talk to, they're like, not this year, maybe next year. Like everybody is automatically going on to that long-term plan.
Yeah.
Build the pipeline.
They have been super sweet. I attract older people for whatever reason. They will talk to me and they talk my ear off. Some lady had me on the phone for over an hour, like 2 days ago. I'm supposed to go to her house like in 2 weeks or something.
Now, why are you going to go to her house?
Well, because I said, I want to see your house. I want to see, the whole like setting the appointment. So I got it, but it sounds like her. And then the houses I've been getting are like 250, 300. Like they're all, I'm hardly getting anything in the 500 to 600 at all.
Okay. And the old lady that you're going to, what's her home worth?
About 250.
Okay.
And it sounds terrible. And they're smokers, and that it's just like a nightmare. And I'm like, what am I getting myself into? And like I honestly am trying not to be discouraged, but I've been in the program for a while and I am not seeing, I've met a lot of great people, but they're all on like 2-3 year plans or something, or I already have a realtor. I just want to know, and I'm like, ugh.
I gotcha. So I would say when you're generally speaking, when you're talking to lots of people and a lot of them are 2 to 3 years out, you probably do something similar to this, but I'll just tell you what I tell my agents to do. I want you to just compliment them. Like, I'm so glad to hear that you're planning ahead. How did you decide you're 2 to 3 years out? Now, I would say about half of them are not going to have a good reason why they plan 2 to 3 years out. Half of them are going to give you a legitimate reason. Like, I'm retiring. I'm waiting for my child to graduate. Like, those are legitimate reasons to wait to sell your home. I'm like, they're waiting for a life event of some kind. The people that they either don't give you a good answer or they hesitate, like they're like, well, like your antenna to pick up on those people. More than likely, a lot of the people that tell you they're several years out, but then have trouble articulating why. Like if they say something like, oh, well, I'm just waiting for the market, right? When they don't give you a very specific life event or a legitimate reason that they're waiting that long, by asking them how they decided and them not having clarity, what you're finding is this possibly is a person that might be more ready to sell than they realize. That's where the money is with a program like this.
A
You know,
lot of them are waiting for the market to get, they're like, if I don't get X amount, then I'm
Mhm.
not selling. And since they're older people, they're like, I've been in this house this long. What is it gonna wait another year or two? Like,
Yeah.
I can't lie to them about what their house is worth.
No, I don't want you to.
It's
No, I
like
don't.
I tell them what it's a range, that big range, and then they're
Uh-huh.
like, yep, can't do that. I'll wait.
Gotcha. So, so when they, when they're not sure as to why they're waiting, and you press into it, and they want a large dollar amount, inquire. Okay, well, what would happen to you? Like, where would you move to next? Like, where would you go? And talk about where they're going to go next, and start to see if you can formulate. 'Cause sometimes they're just picking a number out of the sky. And Zach, did you have a question, or I saw your hand up?
No, you said that was what I was going to say, is ask what they would go. Yeah. So same thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but a lot of them are going into retirement communities that
right.
they have to rent from, and so they need a dollar amount. I don't know. Maybe I
No,
I
no,
think
no.
this is Sheldon here. I think you should focus less on selling their home and, just like Barry says, focus on where they're going. Because if they know where they're going, selling their home is just going to be easy. Kind of try and flip the script. Like, if you're there going to a retirement home, then maybe go on a tour to a retirement home, or start to figure out where they're going, and then be like, oh, great. I just took some other people last week to a retirement home to check it out. Have you heard of this one? Or have you heard of this one? Sometimes
Yeah.
you can buy into some of them. So maybe that's another avenue.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, Sheldon. And keep in mind, especially with the elderly making a big decision to go, it's kind of like the investor. It's like a rookie investor. You find them a good deal, and they're like, no, it's good enough. And it's because they're motivated by so much fear. Like, let's say it's a $20,000, but they budget 40. Like, they're being so conservative because they're so scared of this not working out. And the elderly, like I have been in that situation. I can imagine it's quite frightening to think about selling my most valuable asset and transitioning into this. Your job is to say, I hear you. What I want for you is I want you to go to the next phase of life and it all work out perfectly. How did you come up with that number? And some of the people are going to have the number. I guarantee you, though, not all of them will. Right. So you cannot expect, when you're buying online seller leads, for people to answer the phone and say something akin to, oh, I'm so glad, I'm looking to sell in the next 90 days. Can you come over this weekend? And I know that you don't expect that, Melissa, but like, I'm using an extreme example on purpose because most of these people are going to need massaging. They're going to need you to connect dots that in their mind, they don't even need to have connected. So if I had elderly, just to rehash, I would talk about where they're going. I would ask them how they came up with that number. I would ask them, you have a lot of elderly. I would get some information on all the retirement homes. Talk to the program directors, right? If the market that you're being handed right now, become an expert in that market, right? And also, if you don't have a reverse mortgage specialist, there's some really cool reverse mortgage sale programs where you sell the home you're in, take all the equity, flip it into a retirement home, and they don't have a mortgage to pay when they buy into that new, and that's a reverse mortgage program. So you become an expert in the part that's fuzzy to them, because the only way they know to solve this problem, Melissa, is to sell the home for a ridiculously high amount. They need somebody to bring them back down to reality, is what they need. They're waiting for a number that probably will never happen, and they're doing it because they're scared. Does that make sense? So I want you to really become an expert on the part that, instead of them being scared and wanting a ridiculous number, I want them to be scared and you have so much clarity about their next steps that you can say, I hear you say you want 500,000. The home is worth 400. It's never in the history of time. And you could say in the last 2 years, when I'm looking at property values, it has never been the number that you're waiting for. Let's talk about why you want a number that's never happened before. Let's say you're the agent or the homeowner. Melissa, let's talk about, when I look at the last 2 years, there's never been a home in your neighborhood that sold for that. Let's talk about why you want that number. Are you scared maybe? Yeah, I think so. Okay. What home are you looking at moving into? This one. Okay. Has anybody talked to you if you can buy? I don't know if it's like a condo ownership. So has anybody talked to you about reverse mortgages to where you sell the home you're in, you buy the other one, you don't have mortgage payments? Now you're a part of making it easy for them. You have to, everybody listening to me, you need to understand something. To the degree that you can master the hard part for them and become the solution, you will win more business. And you just have to take what you get. Right now, if the elderly are the ones that are answering the calls, you've got to become the expert for them. And let me tell you, if you don't do this, Melissa, you'll end up switching to another lead gen platform, which is totally fine. You got to do what you got to do. You'll do the same thing. And speaking from experience, you're going to find a similar but different problem. And what I mean by that is there was a period from 2011 to 2015 where every 8 months I switched lead gen platforms. And I didn't really convert much I converted a lot with Zillow and Realtor, but Google and Facebook, every 8 months, I switched because I was used to dealing with people that knew exactly what they wanted with my sphere of influence and with a Zillow lead. And candidly, I would have stayed with Zillow, but $1,000 a lead just didn't scale really well. It just got to the point where it was just ridiculous. So I had to master people that didn't know what they want yet. And that for me, my ROI went from like 20 to 30% or 40% on leads to 200, 300, and 400% because I learned how to solve those additional problems. Does that make sense? I'm so glad I made you unmute. All right. Have a great week, Zach. Stay safe. If I can do anything for you as far as strategizing with the shift in your market, just, reach out to me, buddy. Okay.
Hey,
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate it, man.
Say before you jump off, Barry,
Yeah.
that Melissa should take that Dale Archdeacon course before you jump to another lead generation site so you can get better at talking on the phone. Because all the questions you had suggested asking are like, what's important about not selling on market, those kind of things that are like resonate very well with sellers and buyers.
Yeah, Dale and his team are awesome.
I dropped it in the chat. There's actually a webinar on the 16th you can go to. It's free, and then you can see. And it's like $1,000 for 3 months. It's a really cheap.
Yeah, Dale's a good.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.